ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Nerd Chronicles. This is your host, Christian Paul speaking. Alright? This following episode here contains graphic content that may not be suitable for definitely children and some other viewers involved, which could involve graphic language, visual graphic content, and or both. Viewer discretion is advised.
I expect you guys to take what I say seriously about how to run your relationships, how to train your woman, how to vet women. You guys have to know that I practice what I preach. You guys have to know that I actually do the things and I live the life that I tell you that I'm living. I can't expect you guys to pay $800 for a womanese course if you don't see that I know what I'm talking about. Any man who marries a woman past the age of 23 years old will get leftovers. But yeah, David, listen, man, I'm not trying to be mean-spirited, but you married a single mom. Like,
post-wall women, they get married all the time, but the men they get married to are very low value. They're beta males. They're pushovers. They're not real men. They're not the men that arouse these women.
Single mothers should be avoided as they make for the worst girlfriends, wives, and mothers.
I was a single mom. And yes, listen, I know single moms are bad, this and that and the other, but we all got to start somewhere. Don't commit to it. You want your life to look more like his or more like mine? Let's do a comparison. Listen, now he's smarter than I am. Number one, he's probably got more money than I do, and his wife is much younger and much hotter than my girlfriend.
Devin has a high body count. You think I don't know that my own girlfriend has had sex with a lot of men? I am well aware that Devin's nut count is a lot higher than she will ever admit. I am 237% certain that I am not the biggest ever that Devin's ever taken. The more that have been in you, the more huge that have been in you. Girls think it's cute and attractive to brag about their sexual escapades, but I waste zero time in 304 shaking them. I'll refer to Dev. Dude, when we first started dating, she used to brag about the dudes that she had smashed. Straight up. She used to brag about them. Dude, she used to brag all the time. Now, at first, I just told her, okay, stop. She didn't. And then I told her, look, stop it. She did it one more time. One more time. She tested me. I shamed her literally to tears. You better believe it. I called her every name in the book.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Nerd Chronicles. This is your host, the socially awkward nerd, Christian Paul speaking. Alright? Now we got the final part 3. You know what I mean? Basically asking the question, is Donovan Sharp your alpha guru? Right? And what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, is the criminal history of Donovan Sharp over the years. And to see why he is not as legitimate as he claims to be. But enough of me talking, let's go right into the video. Let's go have some fun, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back to Red Pill Examined, where I look at and debunk red pill talking points and expose red pill content creators as hypocrites, liars, and scammers. And today we'll be doing a part 2 of looking at Donovan Sharp's criminal background. Now, the reason for these types of videos as it relates to red pill content is that it allows people to be fully aware of who it is they're choosing to listen to and endorse.
Boom!
These types of videos also demonstrate why many red pill content creators are no longer married, as many of them simply weren't good husbands. Now, as stated in a previous video, when it comes to Donovan Sharp, the name itself is fake, and was only used up until recently to conceal the identity of the man who we now know to be Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr.
Right.
The reason I say this is because myself, listen, my legal name is Edwin Hopkins, right? Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr. It's all over the internet now, for better or worse. The reason I say this is because...
So after doing some research, I came across 3 of Donovan Sharp's cases for writing bad checks which took place in the state of Florida and the state of North Carolina within a 7-year span.
Damn.
However, before starting, it's important to first point out that these cases are a matter of public records, and it is therefore lawful to make the details of each and every one of these cases public.
Woo. Damn.
Now, the first incident took place on October 14th, 2004 at Publix,
Damn.
a supermarket chain in Florida, where upon checking out, Donovan Sharp wrote a check for $58.58.
Broke your shit.
Now, the document that you see on the
All right, now we're seeing what we got over here. We got misdemeanor charge with Donovan Sharp versus the state of Florida. Basically, obtained property in return for a worthless check. And you have the state attorney at the time. Basically, that took place in Pinellas County, which is part of the Tampa, St. Petersburg area, metropolitan area. All right. So that's how they got him. All these legal terms and legal jargon.
screen is what's called the misdemeanor information, which is the formal charging document describing the charges against the person and the factual basis for those charges. And as we see, the official charge for this case was obtaining property.
And it took place literally, when did it take place? Around 2005. So he was 28 at the time of the offense.
For worthless check, which is a first degree misdemeanor.
Damn.
The document goes on to say that Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr. did obtain services, goods, wares, or other things of value from that certain business entity known as Publix, there delivering to Chris Wilk a certain worthless order for money, commonly called a bank check. The document then goes on to say that the check was afterwards presented to the branch banking and trust company in Benson, North Carolina for payment, and payment thereof was refused for the reason that Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr. did not have funds in said bank wherewith to pay said check upon presentation. Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr. knew that he did not have funds on deposit or in credit with said bank with which to pay for the same upon presentation. And as we look at the return check on the screen, it does state that Donovan Sharp at the time no longer had an account with BB&T. So let's now move on to the next document, that being the worthless check affidavit. And what I want to point out here is that as the document states, a certified letter, also called a demand letter, was mailed to Donovan Sharp. Now this letter, which must be sent by certified mail, is to notify the defendant of non-payment and to let him know that failure to pay, usually within a few months, will be presumptive proof of their intent to defraud and will result in criminal prosecution and issuance of a warrant for their arrest.
Wow.
And in Donovan Sharp's case, he obviously failed to pay what was owed, which led to him being summoned to appear in court on November 14th, 2005.
After all these months?
However, after failing to appear, the judge for this case signed a document that same day stating that after reviewing the affidavit, there was more than enough evidence for an arrest to be made. And so a warrant was issued, and bond, assuming that the arrest would be made, was set for $500. Now, as stated in a previous video, this, along with other charges, in my opinion, led to Donovan Sharp fleeing the state of Florida. Which now brings us to 2010, 5 years later, when Donovan Sharp was again arrested for writing a bad check, this time in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Wow.
And as we see from the court records, Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr. wrote a worthless check to Posture Craft Mattress for $1,915.30 on June 25th, 2009. Now, after Donovan Sharp was notified that the check had bounced and then failed to pay what was owed in a timely fashion, legal charges were filed against him on December 4th, 2009, and subsequently.
Now the question is, what's the outcome of those charges? Was he convicted or was he cleared? That's the question what I want to know, because all these, from what I'm saying, were allegations at the time.
An arrest warrant was issued, which led to his arrest by the Raleigh Police Department on February 2nd, 2010. And as we can see from the paperwork, he pled guilty. The verdict came back as guilty.
Okay,
and he was thus ordered to pay by the courts the money owed plus taxes and fees, which then came out to $2,040.30. And as the receipt shows, that amount was fully paid on February 24th, 2010, leading to that case being disposed of that same day. However, just a month prior, on January 23rd, 2010, Donovan Sharp had written another bad check, this time to Forever Photos, for $88. Now, the reason why he wasn't charged for this offense at the same time as the other one is because Forever Photos had yet to file charges against him and didn't do so until February 23rd, 2011.
A year later.
And so after those charges were filed and a warrant was issued, Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr., also known as Donovan Sharp, was arrested by the Holly Springs Police Department on December 22nd, 2011, pled guilty per the court records, and was ordered to pay the $88 plus taxes and fees, which came out to $268 total. That amount was then fully paid on December 23rd, 2011, leading to that case being disposed of that day.
Okay.
Now, it must also be noted that in regards to the Florida case of 2004, all charges were dismissed on April 15th, 2021, because as the document states, the warrant was outstanding and there had been no procedural activity in this case for 16 years.
Alright, so you cleared
the defendant, that being Edwin Alexander Hopkins Jr., also known as Donovan Sharp, had also paid all outstanding financial obligations, and so this case was officially closed as of last year. Now, as previously stated, the reason for these types of videos is to allow people to be fully aware of who it is they're choosing to listen to and endorse. It is also to show that many red pill content creators weren't competent husbands, and thus explains why most of them ultimately ended up getting divorced. And in Donovan Sharp's case, his criminal behavior could have landed his then wife in jail.
Damn.
And so if we're to take red pill content creators at their word and agree that a woman's past does indeed matter, then can a man's past also be the best and most reliable predictor of his future behavior?
That's also
and if so, then what are we to make of Donovan Sharp, who for years deliberately tried to hide the details of his criminal past from his audience?
Crazy.
Well, here's what we know for a fact. Donovan Sharp, from 2004 to 2010, betrayed the trust of 3 separate businesses by giving them the impression that he had money in his bank account, knowing that wasn't the case, in order to procure for himself products and services. Fast forward to the present, and we now have Donovan Sharp giving the impression to his thousands of subscribers that he was in a relationship with a quote-unquote gorgeous 32-year-old who had never been married, knowing that that wasn't the case, in order to sell courses and memberships on his website.
Grifting.
Now, those 3 businesses actually gave him the benefit of the doubt by sending him a demand letter asking for what was owed. He, however, ignored them and thus confirmed that he had written those checks with the intent to commit fraud and failed to reimburse those businesses until legal action was taken. So now the question is, will Donovan Sharp show that he's truly a changed man and give a refund to those who were scammed into buying some of his courses? Or will he simply ignore them and thus confirm that his past was indeed an accurate predictor of his future behavior?
Golly. What I tell you?
Research did you do? Is this based on research? She said, is this based on research? I said, no, this is based on personal experience. You want the job or not? She said, is this based on research? I said, no, this is based on personal experience. You want the job or not?
Sydney Graham emails me and says, I'm interested in the Womanese refund. No. There are no refunds with Womanese, okay? That's not the way this works. I'm not offering refunds for Womanese. What are we doing, guys?
Man, this motherfucker. And again, this is your alpha guru, right? This is the same one that was on the Fresh Fit podcast, right? Saying that messages could be recreated and you can have apps actually do all these things, but yet he has no recollection on specifics on which apps can do such a thing legally, right? Coming from a dude that is actually in the realm of engineering and applied mathematics and coding when it comes with deep learning, okay? And they also co-signed Myron basically saying women fantasize getting raped by the dude that they are sexually attracted to. In other words, he's basically saying, Myron's basically saying women fantasize about having non-consensual sex to the guy that they are attracted to. That is just beyond asinine insane to me, right? So again, is this your alpha guru? And if you choose to stick with him, fine, that's your right. But, that's going to be a reflection of your character. At the end of the day, reflects on who you are. Alright? If you decide to watch this your entertainment and for our activity, go at it. But if you go hardcore on this stuff and buy this content frequently and all this other nonsense, while not even digging into the research behind the scenes and all this other stuff, it could literally bite you in the ass and it could get you in some potential criminal charges literally down the line. Okay? Doesn't just present the news out here. I'm just actually trying to present what a lot of these guys up in this space are basically doing to grift a lot of the viewers, a lot of customers, and much of the audience that are basically there, so as they can try to make a living based on the stuff that they're doing with no thorough technical experience or background, with the exception of Myron, who is a former law enforcement agent, right? Don't even have that much impactful jobs or impactful careers, actually back some of themselves up, you know what I mean? And all they do is mainly grift. And again, that's I'm going to say this one more time before I close out. Is this your alpha guru? We out.